Good afternoon, innocent friends. I'm Father Julian Borda, and today I have the grand privilege of introducing to you one of the most famous paintings in the world of Christian art. Of course, I'm speaking of this famous work by Leonardo da Vinci in the 15th century, The Last Supper of Jesus Christ with his disciples. This is a painting that has a special meaning for me. I remember my mom and I working for at least a week, probably more, when I was growing up, on a 2,000-piece puzzle of this painting. And it was a lot of fun, a lot of expressions and faces and different things going on. Some difficult parts of the puzzle too. You get it's a very plain building and some of the pieces will look the same. But there's a lot going on in this one, as in most of the ones that we've seen. And Leonardo da Vinci is showing us something very special, and he's capturing something that hasn't always been captured when artists are trying to paint this very important moment in the story of the gospel. So a bit of background on the painting, first of all. Much like we saw a few weeks ago with the wedding at Cana, this one also was made for the monks. And it was made as well for the monks' refectory, their dining hall. And so it was housed here in the convent of Santa Maria delle Grazie in Milan, out in Italy. So it would have hung it still hangs in the dining hall over there. And it's still something that the monks get to look at as they eat and be reminded of that most pivotal and important meal, one that we commemorate every Sunday at church. So Leonardo da Vinci is not the first one, of course, to depict the Last Supper. There are many others. This is one of the earliest ones that we know of. It's from the 6th century, so the 500s AD. And you can see here, it's a very different depiction in a lot of ways. You can tell who Jesus is pretty easily, and then his 12 disciples here, and Judas, off to the side a little bit. But you can kind of see there's a model that Leonardo is going off of here. You can see another depiction a little later on, and you'll notice, a lot of the traditional hallmarks of this depiction and of showing generally Jesus and his apostles. They all have halos, and they're all shown, being very calm and very serene, very put together, very holy, which they are, of course. They're saints and they're Son of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. Except for Judas, of course, who does not have a halo and is depicted with his coin purse as the collector and the treasurer of the group. So these depictions are very important, and all of them bring, of course, their own thing to the table, so to speak, as far as showing Jesus and what is going on when he is saying all the things that he has to say to the disciples before he dies on the cross. But Leonardo da Vinci is interested in showing something a little bit different in the way that he paints Jesus and the others. So let's go back to this painting. First of all, what we see here is something that exemplifies the Renaissance, the period in which Leonardo da Vinci is painting. And it's all about the geometry of the painting, the way that all the numbers, the angles, and the focus of the painting all kind of come together to send special messages throughout the painting. So we see here, there's the hall with the sort of a line that you can draw. And of course, right at the middle is Jesus Christ. See him here, and he is shown being very calm. So that is in keeping with other depictions, is that Jesus is not agitated, as far as we can tell. He is not angry. He is not worried or frantic or in a panic. Jesus is calm. But the same cannot be said for all of the apostles around him. What has been noted about this painting, by people much more insightful than me, is that part of what's going on here is that this is the moment at which Jesus says to the apostles, one of you here will betray me. One of you here is just about to turn me over to my enemies so that I will die. And we're going to see all of the different reactions. So Leonardo da Vinci is showing, for example, in these three, St. Bartholomew, St. James the Less, and Peter's brother, St. Andrew. He's showing them being surprised. Andrew, his hands are lifted up like, sort of a, wait a moment, what's happening here? And then the other two are just curiously looking on at what is going on here, what is happening, what is Jesus saying? It says in the gospel narrative that all of them ask, is it I, Lord? Are you talking about me? They're all dismayed, and they're all, shown with very vivid expressions here. These are the calmest of the bunch, but even they are showing a very strong emotional reaction to what Jesus is saying. Here we see even more movement among St. Matthew and St. Jude and St. Simon the Zealot. You see, there's Matthew, very expressive. He's saying, tell me what Jesus is saying here. And you have Simon Zealot saying, I don't know, you tell me. And Jude as well, just very inquisitive. So very unusually in a depiction of Jesus and the disciples, we're seeing some more human, more emblematic response of what it would have been like to hear Jesus, your master and your friend, the one whom you look up to, say that one of you is going to betray him. So we're seeing that in some of the outer reactions, the people at the outside of the table. And then we go into the inner ends of the table. Here we see our patron saint, St. Thomas. We see St. James the Greater. There are two St. Jameses, of course, and Philip. And of course you see Thomas here. He's got the sort of, now you see here, what are you talking about? And it's a traditional reminder, and we'll see this in a few weeks, of him insisting on putting his finger in Jesus' side, saying, I have this right to know what you're talking about. There's an indignance there. You see sort of a wistful look in Philip, and almost a scream, a cry out from the fiery St. James. So all of these different personalities are coming out in the way Leonardo is showing the scene. And then on the other side, we see the three that are very easy to identify typically in the narrative. Here we see St. John, the one whom Jesus loved. In the Gospel of John, he has his head on Jesus' shoulder, and a lot of depictions show that. This one does not. It wants to show something a little bit different about Peter and John talking to each other. You see Peter here, often depicted as older. He's holding a knife. He's the one who tends toward violence a little more. We see him cut off the servant's ear later in the Garden of Gethsemane. And we see Judas. And Judas, it's hard to see in kind of, the painting has faded somewhat over the past few centuries, but he's holding the coin purse. So he's got the traditional marker showing this is Judas. He was a thief who stole money. He was greedy, and he was trusted at the same time. But we see that unlike the other apostles, Judas is shown a little bit more in shadow. John we see here very bright, the light is shining upon him. And upon Peter to some extent, a little more shadow, because Peter denies Jesus at the crowing of the rooster in the morning. And we see Judas, who is very much hidden, who is a little underhanded, and we see him reaching for the bread. If you remember, Jesus says, he who dips the bread is the one who dips the bread first, will be the one to betray me. And we see Judas reaching for that and preparing for the moment and the great reveal. So we're seeing all of these different reactions, some peaceful, some inquisitive, some curious, some very agitated, and some knowing. And we see Jesus here. And Jesus, as you can see a little bit here, he's reaching for bread as well. And he's also on the other side reaching for wine. And of course, we remember this every Sunday when Jesus says, "Take, eat, this is my body, which is given for you. Drink this, all of you, for this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for you and for many for the remission of sins." So Jesus is preparing at this supper, as he says that one of you will betray me. He's talking about his body, which will be nailed in, will be broken for you. He's speaking about his blood, this wine, this cup, which is shed for you for the forgiveness of sins. And so Leonardo is showing a lot of the traditional aspects of this story, very important story, but he's also showing a lot of the humanity behind all of these people. And, by taking off the halos, taking off some of the serene looks and putting in more human and more emotional and outwardly expressive depictions, he's showing us something very interesting about us as well as we react to what Jesus has to say. So we can look at it here and we see then a whole dramatic scene, not something that's a boring and static thing where we only see, almost they're carved into stone, they're not outwardly acting out. We see here a human drama, with all of these 12, and Leonardo in many different ways has used math. He's divided them into 4 groups of 3. So you see 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. The number 3 is kind of present throughout the painting. Obviously a Trinitarian number, and also very important in the mathematical understandings of the time. So in all of these things, Leonardo da Vinci is working to draw us not to the setting, as we saw at the wedding at Cana, or the Tower of Babel, or many of the others, where what's going on around is the focus. Instead, he simplifies the room, he makes it very plain, makes it harder to do a puzzle, but it draws us necessarily then to Jesus and to his apostles, and to thinking about what do we see when we react to Jesus Christ? What do we hear when he says, "One of you will betray me"? What do we say when we are found wanting? And what do we do when we are confronted by Jesus and asked to return to him again and to repent? And what does it look like then, truly, for us to dine with Jesus Christ, for us to receive his body and his blood? It's not simply a spiritual moment, it is an emotional one too. And Leonardo da Vinci does us a great gift by reminding us of that dimension of our relationship with Jesus Christ. I hope this has been a helpful tour of this great work, and I look forward to joining you very soon for our next installment of Bible Art. God bless you all. Take care.